Yes, guys, welcome back to TACT Eagle, the final one of the season, and I am joined back here with the usual guest, usual host, let me add, of Statman Dan. Statman Dan, how was your holiday in Brazil, and also how are you today?
Yeah, it was very good. Spent some good time with Dude's family and her friends. Nice and sunny over there. Good food, friendly people. What more can you ask for on a holiday? So yeah, it was good. It was good. And today, yeah, I'm all good. First day back at work, so it was a bit long, but to be fair, I quite like my work, so it's not too bad. How are you, JC?
Yeah, pretty much more the same, really. The only unfortunate thing about work is that there wasn't actually that many IT problems, more problems of people not knowing how to use the IT equipment, but that's just the
That's
way
standard.
that's just the way the world works.
Brilliant.
But unfortunately, this is the last one of the season, so Dan, we've got to find something else to do.
Well, I mean, to be fair, we could like do something about maybe what we would like to see next season, or I guess, or something like that, like looking forwards maybe, or something we would like to see next season, or I guess,
What?
or
What's this?
something like that, like looking for.
Something's playing twice. Is it on my one?
Wait, is that me?
Oh no! You know what it is Rihanna's got her Bluetooth on the speaker up here, so she's watching it.
Ah,
Rihanna, I can see you.
is that really what I sound like on there? Oh Jesus! Stop talking now.
Oh well, but yeah, man. I was thinking. Well, we'll spitball off the show, but definitely we'll be talking about maybe talk about how certain managers would work tactically with our players because we still ain't got a manager. So I think that would be something cool that we could talk about. Bath time is here. Hi
Big
lads,
up
I'm a
after.
United fan, but I love the tactics. Big up. I
Big
was
up.
wondering why it wasn't working on my phone. Yeah, I told you there's a Bluetooth.
That makes
Um,
sense.
but let's go back into it. Damn, I've got so many tabs open today. Okay, so that let's do it again. Starting 11s. This is what I believe both teams will play like and will form out like. You guys have probably heard this Palace team been rinsed and repeated for a good few times now, but I'll go through it again. In goal, we've got Sam Johnstone with Mitchell, Gay, Anderson, Ward, with Decore, Hughes, and Eze in midfield, with Ayew, Edouard, and Elise out wide. I'd love to see maybe Luca get a show in, Maka get a show in, purely because this is going to be the last game for the club, and I think it'll be nice to give them that final send off on the pitch. I'd also like to see Ahamada maybe get some minutes, Gyro maybe get some minutes, but mostly Ahamada because I think he'll be in the squad for next season.
Yeah, I think so.
But
I
other than
think
that, what do you think?
Luca's out. I think he picked up an injury during the week. So whenever we saw him last, that will be his last game for Palace. But I'm sure he'll be there doing a lap of honour and stuff like that at the end of the game. To be honest, I completely agree with that. I think that's the best team we can play, and I think we should play. I did wonder. I don't know if you know, but I wasn't sure if some of the kids might be able to play. Like if I don't know.
If they went out on loan, they can't play
Okay.
because in the men's professional game, they're all contracted to June 1st.
Right, I see. Oh, right, I see. Okay, right,
Same
right.
thing for managers. Like, for example, let's say we get Potter. Potter can't pick up a new job until June 1st, or he won't get his he won't get his payoff money. He'll have to pay it all back to Chelsea.
Oh, I did not know that.
So
Okay, that
that's
makes
why you
sense.
won't see that's why we won't see a manager until at least June 1st. So
Oh,
he'll get his money and then get a job. So that's probably why we haven't seen a manager yet.
yeah. Oh, that's I didn't realize. Well, yeah, that makes complete sense. That makes complete sense.
However, Nottingham Forest, honestly, when looking through their squad to pick out a team, I was really thinking this looks like a FIFA team rather than an actual football team, because how the hell have they got Keylor Navas in goal?
It is crazy. I mean, I went for pretty much the same, but I looked at because I checked the injuries first on there.
Yeah, I was gonna go through this. So I genuinely think this is one of the longest injury lists I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, some of the players I completely forgot they even played for them. Like for example, like Chris Wood. I'm assuming that's the same Chris Wood that I'm thinking of.
Yeah, he's on loan there from Newcastle.
On loan, Jack Colback. Where'd he come from? John Joe Shelby. I have no recollection of him moving to Nottingham Forest. Jesse Lingard as well. I remember Jesse Lingard moving, but I completely forgot he played there.
Omar Richards has played like 2 minutes all season for them, and he's been on loan from Bayern Munich.
Nico Williams out. Dean Henderson out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know. I don't even know some of them, but
yeah, some of the others are just I got no idea who they are. Also, they let Jake O'Brien go to America, I believe, on loan.
He went
in January.
DC? Did he go DC?
I think
I don't know
so.
why I've got DC in my head, but something like that.
Mm-hmm. But looking at our team, man, we got 3 England internationals there: Johnstone, Gay, and Eze. That is, apart from Man City, we have the most players in that team, which is quite impressive, if you ask me.
I think that is impressive.
Mm-hmm.
Really, especially when you consider, I know Elise will probably play for France and wants to play for France, but if he wanted to play for England, I think he would maybe not quite be in the team yet, but he don't think he'd been far off.
Oh, to be fair, I don't think he's far off right now.
Yeah.
And to be fair, let's say Mitchell bucks up his ideas again like he did last season, he would have been in there.
Yeah.
So, we've got some great talent coming through, and they've already got England caps. But this Forest team, they set up a little bit strangely. It's sort of like a 3-4-3, but there's wing backs, so they defend in a 5-2-2-1, and then sort of attack as like a 3-2-4-1 or something weird. But we'll get into that. I have their team as Navas, Lodi, Nakate, Felipe, Worrell, RHEA, Mangala, Yates, Morgan Gibbs-White, Danilo, and Awoniyi. What?
Yeah,
I've got no idea.
Awoniyi? Don't know.
Yeah. Would you have picked that same 11, or would you have gone something different?
I only went slightly different only because I assumed that Navas and Danilo wouldn't be able to. I know they're like possibly going to play. I just took them out just because I did. And with that, all I did was put Brennan Johnson on the right, Gibbs White on the left, and then I wasn't really too sure about the midfield because what I found was that occasionally they have played a 4-3-3. When they basically take out Worrell and they replace him with another midfielder. Normally they'll let Danilo drop back into midfield and then bring on Johnson. So then they have the Gibbs, White, Johnson, Awoniyi top 3.
Yeah, they've not been starting Johnson lately, though. That's the only reason why I put Danilo in instead.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's what I was saying like earlier. Like for me, this was such a hard one to pick because they seem to change between that. And then to be honest, with the 4-3-3, with the players who I think won't be available or picking only players who are definitely available, it seemed like the one that you've got there is the only one that they can really play.
Mm-hmm.
Because like we said, that injury list is long.
Yeah, how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 players out injured. But they've got like a 48-man squad, so if you look at it that way, it's not actually that bad, but still, it's pretty atrocious.
Yeah.
before we go into attack and defense, big up SECPFC.
Big up.
Last time saying when's the rest defense and out to in the press chat. Put in the chat what you think if you want to rest players, or I'm not really sure what this comment's saying, but put it in the chat what you want. So happy, Gay, Johnson, especially Eze. Love that to bits, man.
Yeah, for sure. Especially after last time as well when he got injured.
Question on Eze. We'll touch on it very quickly. Do you think that Eze sort of come along at a sort of a bad time when it comes to England? Because he's got to compete with Maddison, Grealish, Foden, Bellingham, all for that one position. Do you think that maybe for his own career, he maybe should have chosen Nigeria purely because of that fact? Saka as well, to an extent.
I think Saka's definitely good enough. I don't think there's any question on that. Like, I think even in the past couple of tournaments, I think Saka's been one of England's better players, in my opinion. In terms of Eze, I think his ceiling is very high. And to be honest, I can envisage a team where you can fit in Bellingham, Eze, and Foden. Like for me, again, this is me being biased, obviously. So take this with a pinch of salt. But if I was Southgate, I would play a midfield three of Rice like in the middle, kind of like check the core, I guess, and then have Eze on the right and then Bellingham on the left. That's what I would do. Personally, who else would play there? But I'm not sure. I think he can get caps. There's no doubt about it. I guess it just depends what he's happy with, though. Like if he's happy just like going to a tournament knowing that he's going to be like maybe on the bench, not playing every game, then that's obviously fine. But then he's played so well at the end of this season. I don't see why he can't actually progress even more.
Well, yeah, put it this way, he definitely goes into that team before Conor Gallagher in that team.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like, I know I've seen people say it on Twitter, and I know like everything's not about goals and well, I mean it is, but not rating a player isn't just about goals and assists. But he's got more goals and assists, I think, in the last since we played or since Roy. Than Conor Gallagher did in the entirety of last season in a team that created a lot more chances. So I don't see why he can't. Yes, lads.
Look at these guys. They are currently at the award show.
They're there. Oh, sick.
I think they're muted themselves because of the music, probably.
Yeah.
They pieced out.
Yeah,
having a good time.
It's not Box Park,
Clapham, some.
Oh, Clapham Grand. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. So actually, they're not too far from here, but we'll see. I'm sure that they're vlogging it. Apparently, they've got an interview on CPFC TV, which will be cool to check out later.
That's with Jay Knox, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think whatever Eze is happy with. Let's run through these last. United have 3 as well: Rashford, Maguire, and Shaw. This is true. Elise only eligible for France. No, he's eligible for France, Nigeria, and Algeria, I believe, as well.
Yeah. That's it. 'Cause I think his mum's like French Algerian and his dad's Nigerian. Obviously, he was born here.
My bad, football terms in possession. Yeah, we're getting into attack and defense in a minute. Yeah, we're gonna cover all of this. Don't worry. Yes, Rich. I wish I was there. Can't unmute because music was playing too loud. Dan.
Yeah.
For your grand reveal back again, I'm gonna let you take it away. Are we going with attack or defense today? Are we starting with?
Let's go with. I'll talk about Nottingham Forest. I think I want to touch on a bit of both because I think their defense is a big part of how they attack. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So let me talk about him because to be fair, I mean most of us know how Palace will.
Yeah, I think that because since you've been absent, I've been trying to do a STATMAN, Dan. And I have a stat for you, Dan.
Go on, then.
On average, this season, Forest have an average possession of 38%.
Woo! That's
So
not very much.
So that tells me that they don't have the ball very much, but when they do have the ball, they are very direct and score most of their chances.
And you know what? That is pretty much that in a nutshell. Right, I'm going to change this to the 5 because I think you're right. I think they probably will play a 5 like that. And then take
This is a
this.
Ted Bowley formation, mate. You need to.
There we go. Boom. So, oh, that's another thing I forgot to mention, right? So, if Navas can't play, Henderson's also injured. So that means Mr. Wayne Hennessy plays.
Whoa! Oh, Wayne.
I've completely forgot about that.
I hope he's done some history classes.
Because I don't think they've got another goalkeeper that's played this season. I could be wrong, but that's what I thought. Anyway, so this is what I thought. Obviously, this is assuming Navas and Danilo can't play. So I've kind of left it as it is. Now, as we know, as JC's just said, they don't keep the ball very much. And that's reflected in a lot of different things. Like that's reflected in the fact that they complete the fewest passes. They have the fewest touches in the opposition box and stuff like this. Every kind of stat you can think of that would indicate that they keep the ball shows that they do not keep the ball. And that was also reflected in the games I watched back of theirs as well. So what they'll do is that they'll sit in this. So they'll sit in this nice back 5 like this. And then they'll kind of use these players to kind of shift. What I did notice is that their shape kind of changes, and I think there is a way to exploit their shape because even though they have all these players back and they do park the bus in that sense, I think their defense is actually quite exploitable, but we'll talk about that later. So let's say that these players are over here somewhere. I don't know, let's say he's got the ball or something. Decore. Actually, let's come back about here actually, because this is more what they do. So let's say Gay's got the ball, Mitchell's pushed up. I don't know, he's come inside. He's Eze's like over here somewhere. At least he's doing his thing as a winger. Something like this. I don't know. So, and I noticed this when they played Arsenal. When they played Arsenal, their defense was really good. To the point when Arteta actually said after the game that Arsenal could have played for another 3 hours and they wouldn't have scored. So that's a testament to how well they did defend. Again, whether they do this against us, that's a different story. We're not Arsenal, and they're already up, so they could very well be in their flip flops. Who knows? They might not even, they might play in a completely different way because of that. But if it's based on that, so Gay's got the ball. They'll make sure that they have these. Now, what I do like is that they kind of position themselves like this. So normally, if you had them sort of a bit more open like this, say for example, Gay would be, and Gay can, and we know he's capable of as well. He'd be able to ping that pass straight into Edouard if he dropped. What these two coming more inside does is it stops that lane like that. It makes it more difficult for them to pass through. Again, if Anderson was to have the ball here, it's the same thing. Okay, he could pass to Decore, but then he's surrounded by 5 different players. And they'll do this and they'll shift over as well. They'll shift over. So let's say Ward ends up with the ball. What they'll end up having is that they'll end up kind of dropping like this. So you have all these players over here. So as you can see, and I'm sure you can already start seeing maybe the holes in this particular defending, because we do have to remember they have conceded a lot of goals this season. Even though they are very defensive, it doesn't necessarily always work. So we do have to bear that in mind. But yeah, so let's say, then they shift over like that. But let's say, I don't know, they pass to Elise. Generally what happens then, I notice, is that Lodi will come over. So they'll kind of shift over like this, like that. And then what this player will do, so in this case, Morgan Gibbs White, or maybe even Yates, Actually, I think Yates is probably more likely to do this. They'll bring themselves so they are now behind the ball, if that makes sense. So that they're now a bit more compact and like this. So that's generally how they will defend. Like I said, you can probably already see the holes in it. They've conceded a lot of goals, especially away from home as well. They have the worst away record in the league, which means that they will definitely win on Sunday. So yeah, so that's generally how they defend, and that that feeds into their attack. As JC alluded to earlier, they like to counter attack. I can't remember when I saw this stat, but it wasn't that long ago. Like it was within it was a tweet that was within the last month in terms of age. Forest have the most shots from a direct counter. No, sorry, the third most shots after a direct counter in the league. So, you know, as you can see, that is that's their thing, I guess. So let's say, I don't know, Elise tries that pass to Eze, but I don't know, this guy Yates gets it. What I notice that these will do is that they will try these three, whoever that front three is, they will make these runs. They will try to make it so they are basically doing. I feel like it's quite an old school tactic of that classic three-pronged attack. I don't think you really see it that much anymore, but maybe I'm wrong. But you have like this nice three-pronged attack. So if, I don't know, we are slow to react, Yates is going to ping that ball to RHEA. He's going to ping it to him. He's going to receive the ball. Hopefully, if they want, hopefully Gibbs White will have made that run. Johnson will be making this run, and then they'll just continue up the pitch. So they'll just continue up here to try and get a shot off, basically. And they'll use the pace of those players to do that. And I think against us, that could be quite effective because, in my opinion, the only fast players we've actually really got here are Gay, maybe Mitchell, but
if Decore gets on his bike, he might be able to do something, but it will be a bit of a long shot.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I don't really know how quick RHEA is. I know that Gibbs White and Johnson are quick. But you know, if Gay's getting dragged out over here, you're not going to have a good time. That's basically effectively a 3-on-2.
Well, yeah, put it this way: if Gay gets dragged out over there and Anderson's too busy worrying about Gibbs White, RHEA will just run straight towards the goal on his own.
Well, yeah, exactly. And let's be honest, Ward's not going to catch up. Well, I mean, he might do. He might catch up once, and then that'll be it.
It gets subbed off.
Yeah. So that's effectively how they do it. And it doesn't necessarily that they try to do. I mean, I think in terms of what I saw, I think they tend to try and go to RHEA just because he is in the middle, but not always. Maybe if Decore is maybe a bit back here and is like covering when, I don't know, Yates wins the ball or something, or he doesn't feel like he can make it, he'll try kick it down the channels instead. Like that's not an unusual thing to see them do. Again, you have to remember as well, they take on average the fewest shots per game as well. So whether this is a good idea, you know, that's another question. And also as well, on average, they create the fewest. No, not the fewest. On average, they don't create. What I mean is like, it's not like they create few chances, but they're high value chances. They don't even really tend to create high value chances, if you know what I mean. So
I saw that as well. I think it was away from home. They make the most shots with the least XG. So
yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
So they'll shoot. So they'll get into a situation where they can shoot, but there is a better option to pass, but they'll choose to shoot instead. So they'll take the low XG shot rather than passing it to someone that could have a high XG shot.
Well, yeah, exactly. And I think I don't know. I've been trying to think about why this is, because I do think Steve Cooper does deserve a lot of credit, because he took over Forest when they were bottom of the table in the Championship, 8 games in, I think they won like 1 game in 8. I think they had like 8 points. No, less than that. I think they had 4 points in 8 games or something, like one win and 3 draws. They're at bottom of the table. He's got them promoted. Some would say maybe a season too early, but then to be fair to him, I know they spent a lot of money, but I think that's more because they didn't have any players.
Mm-hmm.
He's then also now kept them up when pretty much everyone had them to go down. So I think he deserves a lot of credit. And I've been wondering, is it the tactics of why statistically they're not very good, or is there something that the stats can't explain that perhaps makes it kind of work? I don't really know the answer to that. I haven't really watched them enough. But I know that this is the kind of stuff that he did play at Swansea. Whether he played this with the under 17s or the under 16s, I don't know. As in the England under 16s, 17s, when they won the World Cup. I don't know, but I know certainly he did do this at Swansea. So maybe it is his brand of football. I'm not really too sure. I'm only really kind of saying that because I know that we're potentially linked with him. But that was like an overview of how I think Forest will play, attacking and defensive. Do you want to talk about Palace, JC, or anything else, or is there anything you want to add? Or
well, because you talked about Forest attacking and defending, I guess I'll talk about Palace attacking and defending, and then we sort of cover everything all at once. Let's talk about Palace's attack. So what I've been doing lately is I've been doing half and half. How these player movements and patterns of play can happen on both sides of the pitch, but I have just chosen one side of the pitch with Elise on it, with one style of attack, and then IU side of the pitch with another style of attack, which I think will both work.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start with Elise's one. So one thing I have found out with Forest is they do like to play in this weird 5-2, like 5-2-2-1 formation. It's very strange. But the two players that like to screen, they're not very compact. They like to leave a little bit like enough space to have a few players in between the lines. So if you can see the space between Mangala and Nakate here, there's not much space, but there is enough space for someone that's good on the ball like Eze to take advantage of this space. And they've got two very, very slow centre-backs, Felipe and Worrell, very slow, so you can get in behind them. So a counter-attack, for example, with Edouard, Elise, and Eze, definitely on the cards. If you get in behind, they're not going to catch up, especially if you go after these two guys. That's the first thing. One thing I have seen is that they're fine defending normal crosses. So, can I get a hold of this one? Yeah, so they're fine defending a normal cross this way. However, something that's very strange is that they have conceded a fair few crosses if they're like an inverted cross. And we know Elise loves to do this because he hasn't got a right foot. So Elise can run down the wing, all the space in the world down here, cut back and whip this ball in. They conceded a few times from this because as the ball's coming in this way, the midfielder doesn't know whether to come in. The centre-back doesn't know whether to come out. They ball watch when this happens. And I think this is a perfect time for us to strike. Obviously, as me and Dan keep talking about, if we make different runs, and that's what we've been doing lately, this is going to be a very useful tool for us. If we can pick up the half space, Edouard will be in this half space and Eze can make the run into this half space. We are only aiming at 2 people, but if these guys are still kind of unsure on where to go, it could be a very deadly attack. Another way, which would be demonstrated by IE, obviously I've got these boxes here because their fullbacks aren't really fullbacks, they're more wingbacks, so they don't have that high press straight out. They won't come straight out at you like a Wan-Bissaka or like a defensive-minded fullback. They won't be pressuring you. They'll stand off. They'll not let the cross come in, but they will give you time on the ball to dribble at them. So obviously you could take on a man and do what you need to do. We've got the players to do that. but one-touch passing and 1-2s, they seem to struggle with it. If you pass it to someone, obviously, as Dan said earlier, they sort of have this, like these 4 people will sort of swarm in. However, they're very quick to commit, that I've found. So let's say if IU passes it to Hughes, they'll already start like running, like the midfielders will press very fast. But if Hughes gives IU the ball back, he'll have, so Yates will come out here, IU will then run in here and have loads of space. So they are very quick to commit to passing, which is something that is also exploitable. But obviously, one-touch passing anywhere, you go straight in here to Edouard and goal. Obviously, in the half space again, Eze will have lots of space here. He could take on the defender and shoot. We've seen Zaha do that a few times against Leicester, I believe, where he done a step over, sent the defender the wrong way, and scored. So there's ways for us to get at this team, but obviously you do that by committing forwards. And if we commit forwards and don't finish off our chances, as Dan said, they are a counter-attack team. And if we commit too much forwards and they break away, they've got a lot of chance to do that. Because if we throw people forwards, careful about it, we could sit here and concede a fair few goals.
Mm-hmm. No, sure.
If we let me switch back to us defending against these guys, I think one thing is Nakate. He's got a long throw, and we are dreadful at corners, set pieces, balls into the box. And Nakate can throw the ball from about here straight onto the penalty spot. He is a centre back, so it does take one of the big guys out of the equation. However, striker is 6 foot plus. RHEA is 6 foot plus. Both their centre backs are 6 foot plus. I'm pretty sure Mangala is 6 foot plus as well. And I think Johnson, even though he doesn't look big, I think he is 6 foot as well. So that's one thing we need to worry about when it comes to set pieces, as we've been dreadful all season. But they score most of their goals through, as Dan's method shows, the 3-pronged attack. But this sort of shows the later stages of that 3-pronged attack. They'll commit a lot of players straight towards the goal. They'll have many people running straight through the box into the net. You've seen it a few times. Like Johnson will come down the wing, cross the ball in. He may hit it too hard, and the ball will go over them all. But you will see Morgan Gibbs-White and the striker actually ending up in the goal themselves because they're just running straight towards the goal, which in my opinion is what strikers and forwards should be doing. They should be running towards the goal at all costs. But obviously, a situation like this, they'll break. Well, let's say we come back. We're actually in our low block. We've got our players where they need to be. And let's say Johnson's got the ball out here. He's going to have lots of options. Their striker, very good in the air. He beat Thiago Silva in the air to score against Chelsea twice, didn't he? In their 2-2 draw against Chelsea.
Perhaps.
So, good in the air. But in this situation, he has lots of options. Lodi, very high-flying fullback, will make this run. Give him an option. That might drag Ward, let's say. RHEA, he'll always come up. You know, that might be tracked by IU, let's say. So this arrow is the run that he would make. Gibbs-White will make this run. Gabe, maybe. Mitchell. So they'll overload us in the box. And it's going to be hard to keep track of because, as they do very well, they make different runs. And put it this way, Johnson might not even put that ball in. He might see this situation, see Elise commit, take a step inside, and have a shot from here. So they've got technical players to damage us, but they've also got the little tactics in there to help break through us a little bit easier. Also, Danilo can come on late for like a Mangala if they're chasing the game, which will then put another forward player in there. So they are a very dangerous team, even though they have got a dreadful away record. And even though they may not score, they may not create the best chances, but even though the chances that they create aren't the best, they'll still put them away if they are given the chance.
Nice. Yeah. No, good. I think it's going to be a tight game. I think there's some other exploits I had in mind that we can really use against them. Let me just very quickly. There we go. Right. So when I was talking about Forest earlier, about how I kept alluding to they might have some problems. So first thing to counter is, how do we counter their counter, which, as Bath Time explained earlier, about how do we protect against their transitions and support counter presses. So how are we going to stop them from doing this? Because this is how they're going to transition up the pitch. As JC said, it will devolve into that situation. We're terrible from crosses, from set pieces, from long throw-ins. So how are we going to make sure that Yates doesn't get this ball over here? What I would suggest in this particular case is, if the ball does come over this way, I would suggest that we make sure Mitchell comes back. I think we need. The reason why I'm saying this is because I think of the defensive players that we do have, I think Gay and Mitchell are probably the quickest. Anderson's not quick. Decore, I haven't really. Is definitely not quick. Even if he prays to God, the night before, he's definitely not quick. Hughes is not quick. The only other players who are relatively quick are our forward players, and even then, I don't think any of those players are that quick, if I'm to be honest. So what I would suggest is, in that case, is I would make sure that if the ball does make it over here, let's say, so Elise's got the ball over here, I would suggest that Mitchell actually comes back, because Johnson they're not going to be this far forwards at that point. So I would suggest having Mitchell back, just so that we are able to counter this idea. And then, so say, for example, Yates does get it. If he does whack it down the line, which is something he could do, okay, Anderson's not the quickest, but at least he's got a little bit of a head start. And at least then that gives time Gay to cover, and then perhaps, I don't know, Ward to cover. If Anderson's then able to head the ball, that gives him enough time to come back. If I don't know, if Gay's a bit off the pace and Yates manages to find a brilliant pass to Awaniyi, then Gay, I think, should come and meet him. If he gets past him, I think Gay's got the pace to recover personally. But again, if he's able just to hold him up, then that gives time for our players to come back and set themselves. So in that sense, that's how I would manage the transitions from them. That'd be counter tactic number one. Now, in terms of exploiting their defense, I was saying about earlier, I think it is very exploitable. Like I said, they've conceded so many goals, and especially away from home. So let's say that they are over here, and you do have, I don't know, this kind of formation or whatever. Like you said about that, but also I think they're very vulnerable to switches. So let's say, I don't know, let's say the ball's over here. Actually, let's do it this way around. No, actually, let's stick with Anderson, because he does whack a good long ball. So,
hey,
way. So I don't know. Let's say it's like that. What I notice is that they don't really, the fullbacks or the wingbacks, sorry, don't really tend to get much help. So I feel like if Anderson or even Gay, because we know Gay can do it, if you pass that over, you've already got a 2-on-1. And okay, Mangala can come over, but you still got, it's still effectively like a 1-on-1.
Yeah, if Mangala comes over, if Hughes just steps up a little bit, he's in that free space.
Yeah, and I notice this a lot of times. If our wide players receive the ball, they get a lot of space. Now, another one to talk about, that's something that, to be fair, you can do with a lot of teams, but there's another one I wanted to talk about. So I didn't actually talk about their mid block, because they don't just sit in a low block. They do sit in like a mid block as well. I didn't really touch on it because they're not really in that for that long. And to be honest, it's just a pretty standard mid block anyway. It's nothing like crazy. So is effectively what it is. It's basically a low block, but just more spread out. So like, let's say A&E is over here, Johnson's over here, Gibbs White's over here. Let's just say, just put them in the right places. Yates, Magala. That's effectively what it looks like. And let's just put the ball over here. Put them a bit more over here, like this, a bit more compact. But when they're out like this, they're more spread out. So what that basically means, say if Hughes drops there, all you need to do is effectively do that one pass, and you've already cut that line of you've already cut that first line of pressure. And what I notice, if you're then quick about it, and you're then, I don't know, Hughes does one pass to IU, and in that time Mitchell's making a run, you're creating, basically you're putting them out of position, because Johnson, okay, he's probably coming back, Magala's coming in, but now you're creating more space here. And then, okay, let's say you pass it back to Hughes, let's say, I don't know, maybe Yates is covering. All Hughes has to do is turn, and then he's got a pass then onto Eze. And then from there, you've got all of this. Well, again, you've effectively got a one-on-one. And if Ward wants to make one of his rare runs forward, then you've effectively got a 3-on-2. So they're very easy to pull apart when they're sitting in that mid block. So that's probably the time that I would try and transition into attacking them. Just because they're in. Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. Like I think for them, if they get in, I'm not saying we can't knock down their low block, or get through it. Sorry, but it will be a lot more difficult. And you have to remember they did defend very well against Arsenal the other day. So
would you say that just one person can start off a very fast move? Like if someone sends that first pass in with some extra commitment, that the rest of that move will be much faster than it normally is. I think maybe a time where we're in control of the ball, slowing the game down. If Anderson or Gay can hit a ball in hard to Decore and he can turn on the ball, then he'll have a very good understanding of where all the other players are. And if it's very fast movement, as you said, maybe Gay to Hughes straight down to Eze. And then Eze is clear. Eze can start pushing forwards in this scenario.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you'll see IU having a diagonal run coming inside. You see Edouard going up, and then you'll see Elise hugging the touchline to pull Lodi out wide. So then you're giving Eze the chance to either pass it to inside to Edouard, cross it to IU, roll it out to Elise, or maybe do what he done against Southampton. Just take the guy on one-on-one and have a shot. Like, we've got options if we move fast.
Yeah, no, exactly that. And the good thing about playing Forest as well, they don't really press anywhere beyond like here. Basically, no, actually, I didn't even need to do that. Anywhere beyond the how do I delete it? I said anywhere beyond the halfway line, they don't really press. To be honest, even beyond they don't really press that much. So Gay and Anderson will have time to play those balls.
A bit like Allardyce, how when they had the ball, we just stuck in our own half. Yeah, you can have the ball in your half, but the second you're in our half, we'll come and get it.
Yeah. No, exactly. So, but then, like I said, it's a flip-flop game. Do you know what I mean? Like,
could go either way.
Yeah, exactly. It's just one of them. But that's pretty much everything I had to say in terms of exploiting.
Yeah, I think that's all from me tactically as well. But, last game of the season, not much really for both teams to play for. They can finish a few places higher. We are still gunning for that above Chelsea. I think that has Chelsea kicked off now, or is it Man City Brighton right now?
I think it's Man City, Brighton. I think they get Chelsea United tomorrow, but Chelsea got Newcastle on the last day, so we could quite conceive because we're already above them, so we could quite conceivably finish finish above them.
I tell you what,
which
that'll
is
be a
fine.
hell of an achievement, especially after they spent 600 million and we spent the least in the whole transfer win. I think we spent the least money this whole season, haven't we?
I think we yeah, we're
We're not far. Was it 22 on Decore, 10 on Ahamada, and that's it?
Yeah, unless did Lokonga have a
Loan.
No, I don't think so, did
And
he?
I think Johnstone was free.
Yeah, Johnson was free.
Chris Richards was last season, or was that this season?
Oh no, he was this season, so that would be another like 10 mil, something like that.
So overall, that's 46.
Yeah.
So in the grand scheme of things, it's really not that much. Especially that the team we're trying to finish above has spent 600 million in January alone.
Yeah.
Just makes everything a bit crazier.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, we're getting two players off the wage bill, and last season our wage to turnover ratio was only like 64%, which is like actually really low, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's very good that we've got it down. I think getting rid of Benteke and Sacco and players like that has really helped us out.
No, for sure. Because I think when you sign those players back, then you don't think about, or at least they didn't think about, like the potential impact that would have down the line. Like if you sign them on a 5-year contract.
Oh, here's one for you then, Dan.
Go on in.
Overall, for Benteke's whole career at Crystal Palace, how much money do you think overall was spent on Benteke? That is his transfer fee and wages.
Well, he was on like 120k, let's say. So I know 20k is about 20k a week's about what, £1 million. So that'd be about £6 million a year. He was here for about 5 years. Say about 30. I would say probably about 60 million, something like that. 65 million.
73 overall. Because he done a contract extension as well, remember, for an extra 2 years. And he was on 150.
150? He was on 150? Oh my God, that is...
So...
I mean, don't get me wrong, like, even when he wasn't scoring goals, like, I think he did play well, like, a decent amount of the time, but...
70 odd million overall for Benteke is crazy.
Jordan Ayew's on 35k a week, and he's more effective than Benteke was in those latter years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, this is the last game of the season. Anything can happen because remember, I think the last game of the season against Bournemouth, we thought 0-0, 5-3. So, and then against Hull a few years ago, that was 4-0. Like we've had some great last days of the season at Selhurst. Looking forward to it, actually. Last game of the season. Later on tonight at 10 o'clock, the PSV vlog, I guess, for the youth under 21 thing is going to come out. Took a bit longer to edit than I thought it would, actually, but there's some good memes in there, so watch out for that. And yeah, thank you very much for watching TACT Eagle this season. We will be back next season, so don't you worry. Hopefully me and Dan can try and do something, I guess, tactics wise in the summer break to keep you guys happy. And other than that, Dan, anything else you want to say?
Nope, up the Palace.
Eagles!